Doesn't it feel good to have a conversation with someone, share your problems with them, maybe some of your pain, and have them go, "Yeah, you're not crazy. That is cracked, man. That is not right." Or maybe you've been going after a goal. You've been pushing really, really hard, and there's been a lot of stress. Maybe it's extra hours at work, and you finally give yourself a break. Ah, yeah, and you're soothing yourself. Or maybe you've been trying to figure out an answer to a problem and you come up with something. You're like, that's it. All of these things can bring you relief, but they can also cause a future problem with self sabotage. Because what happens when you're in a high need state, whether it's I need to be validated or I need a break, or I need an action I can take. Well, when you're in a high need state, you will take short term action that brings about short term results. It is not meant to bring about resolution of the challenge. But as soon as your subconscious mind learns, hey, we can get a little bit of relief doing this, it'll seek out another high need state faster, quicker, and easier. So you can then give yourself a break by getting validated, by self soothing, and by saying, okay, here's something I can do. But it doesn't come up with the long term strategy, it is just a tactic. Strategy is the overall plan. Tactics are the steps that you take to fulfill the plan. And your subconscious, because it wants to always do things the easiest route, it doesn't want to put forth any type of effort, especially after age 13. Well, it's going, yeah, you know what? This feels good. Let's just hang out here. So, what is it that we need to do to interrupt this cycle? And that when you do move into it, you can do so in a way that's actually going to bring you out at your best, working on resolution. Okay. Um, Ruminating, obsessing, and sabotage. Let's talk about that cycle. Ruminate. Ruminate is when you have intrusive thoughts. You're thinking about something again and again and again. And the reason why you're doing that is you're looking for a detail that may have been missed that might be the key that will unlock your next level of success. There is a reason why we ruminate things. Every great breakthrough, whether it was in the field of science or medicine or psychology, was because someone just would not let go of a challenge. But here's the difference. When you're ruminating and you're doing it all on your own, there is no information that can impact you from an outside source. And because you have what's known as a cognizant bias, also known as a subconscious scotoma, I get it out, blind spot, you're not going to see what you're missing. So, whenever you begin to go over something again and again and again, one of the easiest ways to do an upgrade, a pattern interrupt, is talk to someone and come up with a plan of action. I'm going to give this to you in two different ways. So I had a client, or I have a client, who is needing to get out there and get a new position. They got let go of their last one, and they're like, okay, well, I'm in a space and a place where I have a little bit more time to try to figure out what I want to do. And so I need to get into progress. And she was ruminating on it again and again and again. And said, okay, this is what you need to do. 100 applications in the next 8 weeks. Hmm. Yeah. I've said you're going to be applying for jobs you wouldn't even take, which is okay because you really suck at interviewing right now. It's not a skill set because you're not a professional interviewer. So, yeah, you'll be interviewing at positions you're not going to take simply because it is going to give you the needed exposure, the immersion experience. Okay, so talk to someone and come up with a plan of action and start taking that action within 24 hours. Now, what happens if you don't do that? If you just your pain gets validated. They're like, "Yeah, those people are cracked. There's nothing wrong with you." Well, that doesn't do anything about the adrenaline and the cortisol that has been building. So if you don't draw a boundary of asking an authority figure for assistance and then acting on that assistance, you're going to up it into obsession. Now, I'm going to give you a personal example from me just yesterday where I went through this entire cycle. I had a client reach out to me and say, "Hey, I follow this holistic vet. And have you seen that there might be a problem with a well-known brand dog food?" Like, no. And my pup is on one of those lines of dog food. So I followed the link that she gave me, and sure enough, since the beginning of December, otherwise completely healthy dogs have been dropping, becoming very, very ill, all the way up and including death for dogs that were healthy just a few days before that. And it's happened so frequent that two holistic vets noticed a pattern and started putting out some information, and then a lot of other people said, "Oh my gosh." And then some people came forward and said, "Yeah, we found it really interesting after our vet did some testing and said, you know what? Whatever's going on with your dog, this is an environmental poison. And the first thing I'd be looking at is the food." And they went ahead and they had the food tested, and it came out that it was bad. And then they reached out to the dog food company who said, "Oh my goodness, look at that. How bizarre. Send us your vet bills, sign this waiver, and we'll take care of everything for you." Okay, so I'm ruminating, right? I've got a dog who is special needs because of his epilepsy. I don't need to be adding to it by having dog food that is tainted with potential heavy metals. Okay, so I did exactly what I'm telling you to do. I reached out to a couple of people in the industry, and I said, "I need to know what I should be feeding my dog instead." Now, I know some of you are going to come back and go, "Oh, a raw diet." Well, not every dog can be on a raw diet. Some who have a high risk of pancreatitis, and if that happens, then it can trigger the seizures that we medicate to try to keep from happening as frequently. Well, there's an ingredient in 99% of all dog foods, just stick with me on this, known as rosemary. And rosemary has a direct correlation to seizures. So I'm talking to these authority figures in the industry who are going, "Well, this is what we recommend." And I'm like, "No can do." Because everything you just recommended, all of it has rosemary in it as a preservative. And they're like, "Whoa, we don't know what to do." So now I'm in some pain. Well, when adrenaline and cortisol begins to build and doesn't have an outlet, you're going to go to the next level, and that's obsessing. Now, what's the difference between rumination and obsessing? Rumination is thoughts. Obsessing, now you've involved the emotional body, and you're obsessing over something. You cannot, your behavior has now become compulsive. You're doing more and more and more. And the reason why is you're desperately seeking a way to get out of pain. So I will tell you, I was obsessing yesterday. I spent 6 hours of research looking up to see what I can do. And here we are, then joined by the man himself. This is baby Thor, 9.5 months old. Yeah. Okay. So we'll see if I need to pause the video, if he'll let me keep going. All right. So obsessing is where now it's not just I need to find a key that is going to solve all of this. Now it's I have all this emotional load that has built up inside. Now, dependent on if you're either an overperformer or an avoider, that will determine your next course of action. And most of the people I work with are overperformers. And I told you, 6 hours I was on the internet researching and looking for something that would be safe to give my baby Thor. Whoa, boy. Okay, so what is it that you need to do at this level? Whenever you're finding yourself and you just cannot shut off. Oh, and as I was saying, an overperformer, you can also be an avoider, though. And avoiders just absolutely shut down. They will numb themselves out, that they have this ability to say, oh, no, it's no big deal. They'll suppress and repress because the load, the allostatic load, the stress load has gotten too heavy. Overperformers, when the allostatic load or the stress load gets, for them, it doesn't get too heavy, it gets too high, and they seek to do more and more and more. This is when you need to set up a rule and restrict what's going on. By the way, I obsessed to the point where I was starting to get physically ill. Yeah. So as soon as I noticed that coming on, I'm like, okay, I will give myself until this time today. And I will have to settle on an answer. I will have to have something. It's going to be short term, but it's something that I'm going to need to do. Working with a client where they found out that their partner was cheating on them and went from ruminating to obsessing, wanted to have all the details, and they got him. And there was a little bit of relief until the ruminating started all over again of, oh my gosh, what was the trigger? What set it all off? Remember, ruminating is looking for the key, the one thing. With dogs with epilepsy, there's a reason why it's called idiopathic epilepsy. Idiopathic simply means unknown cause. You cannot find out. You can begin to investigate, but there is not going to be an answer that this is going to give you a cure. And a lot of times when you ruminate, that's what you're doing, is you're looking for a cure. You're not going to find one. So that's the reason why when you ruminate, you've got to set a boundary. There's 4 boundaries. 1, you've got this. No, you don't. 2, you need to ask somebody on your level. No, because if you're dysregulated, you're going to dysregulate them. 3, you ask an authority figure. And you ask an authority figure for a plan of action. And then you take that action as quick as possible to begin to lessen the adrenaline and cortisol load. But if that doesn't happen, now you're moving into obsession. And obsession is when you move from boundaries to rules. Rules restrict. And so I knew, hey, by this time, I have to have some sort of answer. I am restricting it. I'm not taking it any further. And then you got to get up and you've got to do something physical. This is when I tell my clients, hey, do 90 seconds of high knees as long as the doctor says that it's okay. Do jumping jacks, do something, 90 seconds to begin to break that load, because you are now in a high need state. And when you're in a high need state, that's when you'll self-sabotage. That is when you will do anything to get relief, which is the reason why in the obsession level, you need to put down a rule and say, no, this is the action I'm going to take. So in place of sabotage, you're looking at short-term action, and preferably right away. Something that is not just going to get you out of pain, but it's actually going to move you into progress. But with the understanding, it is not a resolution. It is not the be-all, end-all. Now, here's the challenge. It's what I told you at the very beginning. The subconscious will take you to a space and a place faster, quicker, and easier, where you will move into self-sabotage. You will move into self-sabotage through endless scrolling on social media because it gives you a dopamine hit, kind of like watching the slot machine wheel go round and round. Yeah, there's a reason why they do it that way. It's what happens to the vision, and it begins to set off dopamine. Or maybe food. You will turn to either carbs to calm you down or to sugar to pump you up. You will spend money. You'll reach out to people who are so not healthy for you, but they're going to validate you. Oh, let's all bitch, moan, whine together. So you need to work with someone who can assist you in upgrading this pattern. See, you don't have a self-sabotage habit. You have a pattern that keeps producing pain. And if I can be the one to assist you with this, that would be great. Okay, so until we get together again, if you're going to ruminate, well, oh, by the way, what did I do about Thor? I loaded him up in the car and we went out and we bought a 4-pound bag of dog food that'll last us like 3 or 4 days for him to try it out and see if he likes it. And if he doesn't, we'll go get a different one. Yeah. Okay, so when you ruminate, talk to someone, get a plan of action. If you can't do that, it'll go into obsession. Obsession, you need to put rules around it to restrict and take action immediately. And then you're in a high need state. That high need state needs relief. You can either do it through self-sabotage or short-term relief, understanding it's not a resolution. You're going to need to work with someone to be able to get that. So until we get together again, use this pattern to begin to produce progress, even if it's only a couple of steps at a time.